In regard to structural changes, the big one was taking all the basic skills areas, the disciplines, and putting them under one dean, who also managed all the learning labs. This was one of the commendations that the team that took us off probation gave the college. Was just they just said that was brilliant, and they thought that that was a very key element in our move forward. So structurally, that was probably one of the big things. One of the policy change that has happened as part of the California, as we've gone through Equity for All and California benchmarking, is that basic skills is the #1 priority of this college. Getting students through basic skills. You talked about some of the terminology. We played with the terms benchmarking and gateway, and so our college, for us, defined a gateway course is those courses which students cannot get past to move forward into transfer level. The transfer level being the benchmarking course. Can we get a student to this benchmark? Because at transfer level, they can do a lot of things. They can transfer, go on with their education. They can go into the workforce with a college level reading, writing, computational ability. So they can do a lot of things at that. So that's the benchmark. We'd like them to get there, whether they want to transfer or not. We'd like them to have that knowledge, or at least the ability to take that class, whether they take it or not. The gateway courses are those that we saw all this flood of students, seemingly, just to use a metaphor, just behind this gate, and they're back there and they want to get out, but they're stuck in knowing how to read, knowing how to write, knowing how to do basic math. So if we could open those gates by helping them to be successful, then they would be able to move into to reach the benchmarks. So that's how we kind of, and those are policy kind of things in the, and I say policy in the sense that the college has made as its primary policy thing is to fund and put forward basic skills as the #1 thing. Like right now, in all of the cutbacks that are happening on this campus, the one thing the president is making sure happens is the work in basic skills. When we did our first basic skills plan last year, we created a strategic plan, a 3-year basic skills plan. He fully funded, in a deficit year, fully funded that plan. And again, this year, we were asked to go back, do analysis, and come back with a budget. The budget was slashed. I mean, it was not the size it was last year, but it was slashed by us. I say me, the dean and the department chairs that I work with. When we presented it to the president, he didn't cut any of it. So again, 2 years in a row now, the president of the college has fully funded the basic skills plan as presented to him by the faculty and leadership that he's put in place over this area. That's policy. As far as procedures are concerned, I think that, there are procedures that happen now. For example, the student has a different procedure. They take a class, they also have to go to a lab. The instructor has a different procedure. They use a master syllabi. They use a template to do their syllabi. They also design classes and curriculum that are around these labs. So, those are procedural kind of things. Also, a lot of the instructors are much more engaged in using new technology in the classroom. And for example, one of our developmental communications instructors this last semester began using project-based learning to teach writing. So she got students all involved in, I saw papers on the dinosaurs and different things like that, and then they built projects around these, and then they had their papers in their projects describing this is what's going on. So she was teaching them how to write paragraphs. So you write a paragraph about this illustration in your project. Students were so engaged. They set this up on the second floor of this building in the library, and people were just coming by looking at the projects of these developmental communication students in their writing. That was an instructor who engaged and was part of the California Benchmarking Committee. Yes, the committee, and actually brought some of that into the classroom. And was also an instructor that in California Benchmarking, one of the things we did was did site visits around. Those site visits have produced a lot of ideas that have been implemented on this campus, and some of it has been the curriculum used in the labs. You have a better, much higher level of morale. The engagement of faculty and administration in actually helping to solve the problem and meet the need of the students. Okay, those are big impacts. To give you one thing that happened this last semester, was the English department invited the math department to one of its departmental meetings to discuss basic skills and working with basic skills students. The math department accepted. This was not done with administration. I was informed of it. I had no part of organizing it or bringing it together or what they put on the agenda. I was invited to the meeting. I went to the meeting. Every full-time faculty from both areas was there. The room was filled with adjunct. This was in the middle of the day on a Wednesday afternoon last spring, 2009. And I sat there and listened as the faculty interacted on their own with each other, how they deal with basic skills students in the class. 2 years before that, you would not even have gotten a conversation between those two chairs about that subject. Now we have the whole departments discussing. It happened because they had all engaged, not all of them, but members of their areas had engaged in the California benchmarking discussion, took that information back. We had the discussants report, that had been shared, that got a lot of buy-in from people that had not been part of California benchmarking. They saw that as legitimizing the California benchmarking work. And so the other thing is, in having had to work together for a year by that time, synergizing their curriculum, their lab work, the tutorial, their staff development activities, that kind of thing, had put them in a conversation. We saw in 1 year, fall to fall, and I don't want to overuse this data because, to really know if data is working and things have worked, you need a sort of a pattern. But for example, when we ran the success and retention and persistence of students in these lab courses, in math, English, and developmental communications, every course had improvement in success rates and retention rates from fall of '07 to fall of '08. Every course. That says something. Could that just happen? Or is it hopefully going to show us a trend that we're actually going to start making a difference here? That would be a great impact. Well, Equity for All, California benchmarking, and this whole process of having the leadership positions I've had in this has changed me tremendously. I probably have the biggest change of all, because not only does it give me hope that you can really make change, but experiencing how the change happened and being there when it happened and seeing it happen, that it really works. This process of inquiry really works, and you can move from going through a process to a culture where it starts happening and it becomes part of the life of the college. I would like to say it's everywhere and that we've got this mastered, but we don't. I'd like to say down the road, that our students, we're a basic skills model for the rest of the state. I believe we're becoming that. I don't think we're there yet. But it's also, obviously raised my level of expertise, my exposure, my connections, my networking, and made me feel very good about what I do for a living.